A former interpreter for the U.S. military is in ICE custody after being seized during a routine appointment about his green card. Despite coming to the U.S. legally, the father of 5 is now behind bars. Scripps News national correspondent Katie Tubman is on this story.
An Afghan ally who entered the U.S. legally has been detained by ICE in Connecticut. 35-year-old Zia S., his last name has been withheld for the safety of his family, was detained after making a routine appointment for his green card in East Hartford, Connecticut last week. He has since been moved across state lines to Massachusetts. Zia is a husband and father of 5 who came to the U.S. legally. He is also a former wartime interpreter who aided American forces in Afghanistan for about 5 years. His arrest comes amid growing outcry against Afghan allies being detained by ICE even as they comply with legal procedures. He and his family fled Afghanistan after the Taliban takeover in 2021, fearing that his work with the U.S. military made his family targets. Now, Zia came to the U.S. with humanitarian parole and an approved special immigrant visa. According to his legal counsel, he was arrested by masked ICE agents following his appointment in Connecticut. Here's what his attorney had to say Tuesday.
Following the rules is supposed to protect you. It's not supposed to land you in detention. If Zia is deported, as so many other people have articulated today, he faces death.
Now, Zia has been placed in expedited removal proceedings to be deported back to Afghanistan, but advocates, supporters, and U.S. political leaders have argued that this case is representing a huge betrayal of Afghan allies. Here's what Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal had to say about Zia's case.
What happened to him is the worst kind of abhorrent violation of basic decency. Put aside the legal causes and issues here, for masked agents to snatch someone off the street with no warning, no counsel, no opportunity even to know who is doing it while it's in process is un-American.
Blumenthal also said on Tuesday that he will use every tool available to stop cases like Zia's from happening. Katie Tubman, Scripps News Group, New York.
Joining me is Jessica Bradley Rushing. She's the Chief Communications Officer for Afghan EVAC, a nonprofit that advocates for U.S. wartime allies. Jessica, we just heard this report from my colleague Katia. Tell me about this case, because it's been making headlines with this Afghan interpreter specifically who was detained by ICE. Who is Zia?
Sure, Liz, and thank you for having me today. So Zia is an Afghan ally who worked with U.S. forces in Afghanistan. He and his brother supported U.S. forces as translators and cultural advisors. He came here to the U.S. on a humanitarian parole, meaning he was not just approved to come here before he landed, but essentially given a visa by USCIS, saying that he could seek parole in this country. He also has a calm approval on his special immigrant visa case. That case is something that he is eligible for due to his service to the U.S. He was living here in Connecticut with his wife and 5 children. He was going for a routine biometric appointment for his green card, and he was snatched up by masked ICE agents in Connecticut, transported across state borders to Massachusetts, and is now being held in a detention facility there.
Have you had any chance to speak with him? I'm just wondering what he's feeling and saying right now.
So I haven't been able to speak to him directly yet. As it happens, the detention center where he is being held is just a few miles away from my home. I do intend to seek out a meeting with Zia, and I know that the U.S. Congressman Bill Keating, who represents Plymouth, Massachusetts, where Zia is being held, he actually had members of his staff at the detention center today trying to speak to Zia. We don't know yet what the outcome of that was.
What happens to Zia if he is deported? And also, in addition to that, what happens to his family?
So the truth is, and you heard Zia's lawyer say this, if he is deported back to Afghanistan, he surely faces death at the hands of the Taliban. The reason why he was granted humanitarian parole is because the U.S. government judged that there was credible risk, serious risk, to his life should he remain where he was. For his family, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know whether his family would also be at risk of deportation. His wife and 5 children are here in Connecticut. They were trying to build new lives here. We know that there are about 195,000 Afghans who have been resettled here in the last few years, who are all working to build new lives and contribute to their communities and pursue the American dream that they were promised through their service to the U.S. If Zia is sent back to the Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, his life is absolutely at risk.
There were so many of these people, these interpreters, these allies. They became allies to the United States during this conflict over the course of many years. And I'm wondering if Zia is the only Afghan interpreter that this has now happened to. Has ICE rounded up other people as well?
We know for sure that Zia is not the only Afghan this has happened to. There was a case in San Diego not long ago, a gentleman named Syed, who went for a regular court hearing, and he was also snatched by ICE. We also know that there's at least one other case that we're tracking that took place in Texas. We're still sort of seeking the details of that case, but those are just the cases that we know about. Afghan evac is working really hard to ensure that these stories are being lifted up, and we created a partnership with IAVA, which is the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, called Battle Buddies, where veterans across the country are actually signing up to go stand in solidarity with wartime allies in their immigration hearings all across the country. We have more than 700 veterans who have already signed up in all 50 states and in DC. And essentially, this isn't a protest. It's a way for veterans to stand with those allies who stood with us during war and say, you're not alone, I'm here with you, and to make our voices heard as well as folks who are strongly against what's happening to our allies in this country.
Jessica, we just have a few seconds left, but the Trump administration ended the temporary protected status for people from Afghanistan. Are there any policy changes that could reverse this course?
I mean, the basis for them ending TPS for Afghans is that Afghanistan is now safe for those individuals to go back to. We know that this could not be further from the truth. There are a lot of things that this administration could do to do right by our allies, including restarting relocation flights out of Afghanistan. TPS is just one layer of protection that's been stripped away from those people who served alongside us. And Afghan evac is going to continue to advocate for the Trump administration to restart those relocation flights, to do the right thing for those allies who are already here, and to stop putting them under greater threat here as they're trying to rebuild their lives.
Jessica Bradley Rushing, Chief Communication Officer for Afghan evac. Thank you so much for that update.
Thank you for having me.